Hey guys, and welcome back to our channel, and today we're going to talk about what's inside our camera bag. So quick brief introduction to who we actually are. We're travel photographers and content creators, so we often travel around the world and just shoot for our clients in terms of travel work, hotel work, and more lifestyle stuff too. I'm saying we because Sarah's actually behind the camera right now, but I'm going to talk about the camera gear since that's more within my field. I'm going to just jump straight into it, and I'm going to talk about the bag itself first. So this is the Wandered PRVKE 21 litre. So this bag itself comes in two different sizes. The one I've got here is the smaller out of the two. I mean, things I love about it, first of all, it's just beautiful design. What I love most is that it doesn't actually look like your stereotypical camera bag, which is great because often when we're traveling around, the people that get targeted the most are the ones that have like these big camera bags and like with big brands and stuff on it. So it's good to have something a little bit more discreet that doesn't entirely look like a camera bag itself. What's also great is the compact size of it all. So for something this size that can hold everything that we need, it's just really, really good. It makes me a little bit more nimble, and I can, squeeze into like these markets and places without worrying about knocking anything over. So it's great that it's nice and compact. It's also, the material it's built out of is really nice. It's like this kind of weather-proof / resistant material. I say resistant because no bag is really waterproof. But for those really heavy rain situations anyway, at the bottom, it has this compartment which you can unzip, and inside there's actually a raincoat that you can actually pull over. So it's really great that it has the raincoat actually built into it too. It looks really compact and it's completely full right now, but if I was to chuck in maybe some extra clothes, maybe I'm going away on like a 2-day trip, this bag would still work. Because at the top here, you can see this rolled up section. You can unroll it and it just becomes expandable storage, which is just fantastic for those times where you don't want to bring a bigger bag, yet you still want the versatility to be able to bring a few extra items. To actually access the camera bag. So actually, one thing I need to mention is I've gone through quite a lot of camera bags throughout. I've been shooting for about 7 years now. I've gone through a lot of camera bags, and I personally prefer it when the camera bags have a back panel for me to access my gear. The reason for that is because often I'm in the outdoor kind of nature areas and I have to put my bag down to get it. And if it's opening from the back, it means I can put the front of the bag down and keep the back clean so that when I put it back on my back, it doesn't make my back all wet and dirty. So it's really great that you can do that. As you can see here, it opens up nice and big, so it's quick and easy access there. If you're not into the back panel opening, or if you're kind of like really in a hurry, you don't even have time to get your bag off your shoulders, there's a side panel here. You can move that. There's a side panel here which you can just open up, and inside you can just reach for the camera here too. So in those situations where you're really in a rush, you can access it there. I personally prefer the back panel too, though. Another great thing about this Wandered bag is it's the number of kind of compartments it has. So it has all these little kind of zips and pouches everywhere, which you can just use for different items. I really, really like this. I wish more camera bags did this, but they have this little secret compartment where I think it's mostly built for your like kind of passport and wallet to keep it really secure and nicely on your back. I like to use it for like a lens cloth filter. It's just really easy to grab out and grab in. Or any other kind of like items here. You can put like cash in there or anything. So that's a great section that I love. Another good thing about this bag, which you don't actually see at the moment, is that it has a waist strap that you can actually attach on that comes with the bag itself. At the moment, I've detached it and I put it away somewhere because I generally find that if the bag is fully loaded, it's still not quite heavy enough to need a waist strap, but the option is there if you need it. It has built-in chest straps too, so it just makes carrying gear all day just much, much more comfortable, and comfort is a really important thing that you have to factor in when purchasing bags. I've actually got another bag as well. So I actually use an interchangeable 2-bag system. And the reason I do that is because we're location independent, which means that we're not, even though we don't have like a wardrobe to use or anything like that. So we tend to live out of bags. And sometimes when we go on much longer trips where maybe the extended period of like 2 months, 3 months, or even maybe a year, I often opt for the bigger bag here. And this is the f-stop Tilopa. This is a 50-litre bag, and I generally, like I said, use this for more kind of longer trips, or if I'm going to more kind of mountainous outdoor areas. This bag is very worn and torn because I've had this for now about 4 years and I've not been friendly to it, but it's completely held up. All the zips are working perfectly. It's a little bit dirty, as you can see, but it's still fantastic. I love the color of this bag the most. I've never seen a bag in this beautiful blue color. But having said that, I had a look at the website today and it seems like they're no longer doing this blue color. I hope they bring it back, but that's another reason why I love it too. It's made of also a water-resistant material, so water's not going to get in it too easily. Unfortunately, there's no rain cover built into it, so you do have to purchase a separate rain cover to put on top. I highly recommend that for anyone that's out in the outdoors a lot. Similar like the Wandered bag, let's move aside, it has a back panel you can access as well. This one is a massive back panel, which is, again, really nice for just getting any gear in and out. I've got the medium ICU here, which is plenty of space for all of our camera gear. You can get smaller ones and larger ones depending on your own choice of gear. But yeah, the f-stop Tilopa is a really great bag. It's actually very good value for money as well. I think I picked this one up in Hong Kong and it worked out to be less than £200. So for something of this size and this quality, we've yet to find anything better than f-stop. Yeah, that's the bags. As you can see, currently this bag is empty because we're back in the UK and we're doing mostly day trips in and out of Surrey. So I've transferred all my gear to the smaller Wandered bag system here. So what I'll do is I'll unpack it, lay it all out so you can see what's inside. Okay, so that is all our gear. So you can see actually it's not as much as maybe some people might think. Yeah, it's actually quite a simple setup. So as I mentioned, we're travel photographers, so we're always trying to keep our gear as light as possible while squeezing out as much performance and quality out of the gear. And we feel like we found quite a nice medium between performance and weight at the moment. So I think what I'll start with is actually our main camera body, which is this on my right here. So this is the Fujifilm X-H1. This camera, we've had it for just over a year now. So we got it very soon after it launched. So I think it's coming up to 2 years. We've used the Fujifilm system since X-T1 day. So 3-4 years now, and we absolutely love them. So a main reason why we've chosen to go for Fujifilm is we really want to use an APS-C sensor camera, and mainly because they're generally smaller and they generally give us access to smaller lenses as well. So remember those 2 points because they're really important. And with the Fujifilm, we feel like they give us really good quality within the APS-C realm. It gives you a 24 megapixel sensor, has inbuilt body stabilization. So that was the main reason we upgraded from X-T1 to the X-H1. It's just great for when we're on the run and we don't want to get the tripod out or anything, and it's low light. We can use the stabilization to get handheld shots, which is really nice. We also got it because we want to get more into videography, and it just, again, stabilization really helps with that. The X-H1 body is actually quite big for APS-C sensor camera though, having said that. It's actually very close to a full frame size camera, but we feel like the grip itself is much nicer. It's much more friendly to use. The X-T1 was it felt like almost like a toy sometimes. It's very small, there was hardly a grip. Both of us just prefer the ergonomics of the X-H1 itself. So that's again, I can't praise this camera enough. I love it. It could do with some improvements such as like battery life. Battery life really isn't the best on it. Low light performance isn't the greatest either, but that's to be expected of an APS-C camera. But apart from that, I don't have any problems with it. Oh, actually, I forgot to mention, one of my favorite features from the Fujifilm cameras is the ability to flip the screen out. So you can see here, but also to flip it this way out. A lot of people, I remember a lot of people when this camera first came out complaining about why would anyone use the screen this way. I have to say, I use this vertical flip out more than anything else. It's super, super useful. And I wish most cameras would have it. I'm not a big fan of the kind of like flippy out ones, just because they tend to kind of go all over the place and it's hard to kind of line up shots. But this is a great kind of alternative to that. So as mentioned, this camera, we bought it because we want to get into more video production and videography. So what I'll do is I'll flip the cameras around so you guys can see what the quality is like on this one. So that's now the Fujifilm X-H1 recording, and in my hands I have the Canon G7X Mark II. So this is what was filming at the beginning of the video. It's also Sarah's kind of main camera too, so she does all the kind of like videos when we're traveling out and about, and she also takes photos with this too. It's small, really, really small. It's pocketable, that's why she loves it the most. And it's actually a very, very powerful camera. So it shoots in full HD, can do a little bit of slow-mo. The image quality is great from it too. It's a 20 megapixel camera. So unless you're shooting very low light conditions, this actually will suffice. So we've actually shot magazine covers with this before too. Yeah, all around, it's just a great, great, great camera. We love the fact that you can swivel the screen up, so you can take selfie photos and videos too. It's just all around, just really nice and powerful. So yeah, that's always in our camera bag as well. The other camera that we use is the DJI Osmo Action. So this is actually very new to our gear setup. We bought this recently because we wanted something that we could take with us when we go into, you know, where there's loads of water. So we went to Thailand a few months back, and this was great for just when we were on the beach, and we didn't want to get any of the other gear wet. We haven't used this often, but the times we have, it is great. The reason why we chose to go for the DJI version instead of the GoPro was the fact that they have a front screen on the DJI one. Besides that, we've heard the GoPro is slightly better in terms of video quality, but they're, to be honest, generally very, very similar. We went with DJI because we personally really love their products. So yeah, that's another great addition to our setup. The last camera that we use is actually one that can fly in the air. So it's the DJI Mavic Pro. This is the first version and not version 2. The reason why we haven't upgraded is because we haven't felt that we've needed to upgrade, and the upgrade to version 2 didn't really feel like it was enough to warrant another £1,000 splashing out. But with the Mavic Pro, we generally find it's more than enough for most of the work we do right now for our clients. So yeah, we couldn't recommend this product enough. I think you pick these up for very cheap now, secondhand too. You can fold them up, which is great for travelers like us, so it saves space. There are smaller versions, but I think that all round the Mavic Pro lineup is the best in terms of size, quality and price. Yeah, just to mention that we've actually swapped out the default kind of gimbal lock because it was kind of a pain in the ass to put the lock and the cover on. This cover actually comes with a lock built in, so it's a really great addition that we just picked up cheaply on Amazon. We carry the drones in these little kind of nice cases, so the controller and the drone itself. It just protects it a little bit more, stops the propellers from flapping around, getting caught and stuff. So they're a really nice addition. Again, we picked these up on Amazon and they weren't too expensive. Oh, I forgot to mention, what I'll do is I'll put in links to places that you can buy all of these items that I've mentioned so far. Where we don't have links to, we'll put in links to some other product which is very similar to the ones we have. That's that. Right, so the next part we're going to talk about are the lenses. So the first one is actually on the Fujifilm itself right now. It's actually the 10 to 24 millimeter lens. It's an f4 lens, so it's a fixed aperture. It's, to be honest, my favorite lens to use all round. We generally use it for scenes where we want to capture like the whole scene. It's really, really good for that. Some downsides to it though, f4 on an APS-C sensor camera is a little bit limiting. It means that in low light situations, it can be a bit of a struggle, but it is generally more than enough for what we use it for. It's not weather sealed either. So we got to be a little bit careful of it when we're out and about shooting in very kind of treacherous rain and sand blowing everywhere. We've got to be a little bit careful of it then. But all in all, I mean, we've used it in light rain before and it's been absolutely fine. The lens itself is super, super sharp. It handles flare really, really well, and it renders colors beautifully as well. And it's actually, this lens was actually one of the reasons why we switched over. So it's compact size, its image quality, and just all-round versatility. I forgot to mention it actually has built-in stabilization into the lens. So coupled with the built-in stabilization of the Fujifilm X-H1 body, it just makes a great combo for like kind of run and gun shooting when we don't want to put the tripod out. So that's the first lens. The second lens I have here is the 18 to 135. So this is, if you're going to talk about which lens we use the most, this is it. This is like our Swiss Army knife lens. It takes you from 18 all the way to 135 millimeter. In full frame equivalent, that's actually 20 something millimeter to just over 200 millimeters. So that focal length variation is just massive. As you can probably assume, it's great for just a walking around lens. It's just built for anything. It's fantastic for travelers that don't know what's coming up, but want to be ready for it at any moment. This is the lens for you. Hence why it's our most used lens. Some drawbacks to it. Image quality isn't the best, so it's definitely not the sharpest. If you put photos taken with the 10 to 24, for example, alongside with the 18 to 135, you can clearly see a difference once you zoom in. What I will say though is you don't typically pixel peep at your photos. At least people that are viewing your photos don't generally do that. So the 18 to 135 is still more than enough for most of our client work too. Another big issue with this lens is it doesn't handle flare very well. We love to shoot into the sun and get it capturing the sun within our photos, as it creates these really high dynamic pictures. But the problem with doing it with this lens is you get those horrible glares and flares, and the colors are just really off. So that's something you've got to be very, very careful of when using the 18 to 135. Having said that, if you were to ask us if we could only use one single lens on a trip, this would probably be it. Yeah, it's great as well. It's weather resistant, which we absolutely love. So that's another reason why it's always on a camera, in case we get caught in like a rainstorm. This is going to handle the rain better than, for example, the 10 to 24 will. This is actually our dedicated telephoto lens. It seems kind of silly to have, I would say, a lower quality lens for us anyway, such an important focal length. But the main reason why we chose this lens to be a telephoto is just its compact size. So compare this to a general 70 to 200 millimeter lens that you might get from like Canon or Sony, and it's just tiny in comparison. And that's one of the big reasons why we use Fujifilm and APS-C cameras in general. It's just this size versus the size of a 7200 on the other camera bodies, it's just night and day difference. So yeah. The last lens we have for the Fujifilm cameras is this tiny 35mm f2 lens. Again, this is weather resistant, and you can see it's just like a little snub. It's just so small. This was actually the first lens we bought for the Fujifilm system, and generally the 35mm/50mm focal range is what we recommend most people get when they're buying maybe their first lens outside of their kit lens. It gives us access to a lower aperture. So this one's an f2, so it's great for low light conditions. And if we're looking for a shallow depth of field, this would be the lens that we put on. It's super duper sharp. I think out of the 3 lenses that we own, this is by far the sharpest. It renders colors beautifully as well. It's also weather resistant. So again, if it's raining, we don't really worry too much. We just slap it on and we just start using it. The main purpose of this lens is mostly for portrait. So if we're shooting photos of people that we meet, or if I'm taking a portrait of Sarah, this will definitely be the lens that I would choose to use. Obviously, some downsides is that it's fixed focal length. So a lot of people love that. I do like it as it kind of generally brings out the creativity in you to make the most out of your fixed focal length. I would say the downside is that if you're traveling and you don't really know what to expect, it's quite limiting. Let's say, for example, this amazing scene happens and there's a wild animal that runs into the scene. You're not going to have enough time to run up to that situation and take a photo of this lens, whereas you would be able to do that with the 18-135. So definitely more of a specialized lens for us, but nonetheless, definitely one we would always keep in our camera bag. So those are our 3 lenses. Next, we'll talk about the tripod. So I'll start off with the big one here. So this is the Manfrotto B3 carbon fiber travel. So this is our favorite travel tripod. We've owned a few tripods over the years, but this is the best one. Sole reason being it's the lightest. So when you're carrying all this gear around, traveling a tripod is generally the last thing people think about. It's actually a lot of photographers we know don't even travel tripods anymore. They kind of rely on the stabilization of the cameras to get by. But we still like having a tripod in our bag, or on our bag, just so we can shoot some slow shutter stuff as well. It just gives us more flexibility. And the lightest we've found, yet being sturdy and tall enough, is the Manfrotto B3 carbon fiber. There's not much else that I need to say about it, apart from that it uses a clamp style. I think they recently launched a version with the twist and lock, but we personally prefer the clamp style ones because we know when it's completely locked in place, so it won't just start slipping over time. It can hurt your fingers when it's very cold, but we still think the security of knowing it's locked in place is more important. As you can see right now, it's actually flipped upside down. So this is how it packs away. So its footprint is very small for the size of the tripod. When you want to use it, you just kind of flip it around like this, and there you go. You have a normal tripod. But yeah, it's great that you can have the ability to fold it down to a smaller footprint. So that's the first one. The second tripod we use is the Joby GorillaPod. So these things are pretty famous. A lot of people use these. I'm gonna say we almost never use this, just because this is a much better tripod. It's much more sturdy, it's much easier to use. Sometimes when you're trying to get the legs in the right place, it's so fiddly and like cranky. It's just not the best tripod. It also can't hold too much weight. With our gear, it's generally fine with all the lenses. Maybe besides the long lens at its longest, it tends to kind of tip a little. But The reason why we keep this in our bag is for situations where we can't use a tripod but can sneak one of these in. So places that come to mind are, I don't know, museums. I believe the Tokyo Sky Tree, we weren't allowed to use a tripod up there. So there's some places, usually indoors, that you won't be allowed to use a tripod, and this is just a super handy thing to have in your bag in case you do need some stabilization. But yeah, so that's most of the gear. I'll go on to the last section with some miscellaneous stuff. I'll start with the laptop. So we used the MacBook Pro 13-inch, I think it's the 2018 edition, the Touch Bar. Both me and Sarah use this laptop. We absolutely love it. Like I said, we've had it since 2018, so that's now almost 2 years, and it still runs as new, which is great. The main reason why we chose to go with the MacBook is because of its kind of small footprint. It's very small and as lightweight as they get. I know Windows has some, especially the Dell ones, are very lightweight, but we found them not to be as sturdy because we're traveling all the time and we have these in our bags all the time. We wanted something that's kind of, we could trust it to be maybe banged a little around the bag. So the MacBook Pros are great for that. Another reason why we switched to MacBook is because we wanted to start using Final Cut Pro, and obviously you can only use that with the iOS. So that's another reason why we switched over. The only drawback I would say that comes with these laptops is the price of them. There's definitely an Apple premium when it comes to their products, and that's still the case now in 2022. So if you're looking at their newer laptops, they're still expensive, but we think they're worth the price. Right next to that, we have this little case, and this is our memory card case, which is really nice. It keeps everything nice and secure. It's meant to be waterproof. I've never tested that, but with this gasket sealing and its closure, I do trust it to be waterproof. So it's really good, it's nice and hard, so if you drop it, which I have done several times, it won't damage the memory cards inside. It just keeps it all in a nice place. I don't actually know the name of this exact one because there's no branding on anything. We picked it up in some random camera shop in Hong Kong, but I've seen some on Amazon as well that are very similar. So I'll put a link below of ones that we can find on there. But yeah, this is definitely a great addition to have. I've seen some people use pouches, but they're not waterproof and they're just not shock proof either. So this is really, really good. Next, I have an external charger. This is like a necessity nowadays, I feel like, because you can charge not just your phone with these, but you can also charge the camera batteries as well, which is great. So we have a USB powered charger for the Fujifilm X-H1 batteries. So we don't have to carry as many batteries as we used to. We actually we cycle through 3 batteries now, and that will not get us through a day. But what we do is once we finish using one, we put in the charger and we just charge it in our bag. So we always have fresh batteries on the go. This one comes with 3 different USB slots, so we can charge not just a phone, not just a camera, but maybe some other stuff as well. It's really, really good. I did use a different external charger before, but it took forever to charge. So this one's actually a 25,600 milliamps battery, which is the same as the old one I had. The reason why I go for that is because it's the largest battery capacity that you can legally take onto a flight. That's super important for us. If you take a bigger battery, a bigger power bank than that, you might not be allowed onto the flight with it. So you never want that to happen. So 25,600 milliamps, right now at the moment anyway, is the biggest you can get. And for that kind of battery size, it takes forever to charge full. So what I love about this one is that it's got 2 USB power slots. So it charges double as quick, so in half the time as another power bank would of this capacity. So this is really, really nice. It's built like a brick as well. So it is heavy, bear in mind, it is super, super heavy, but I think it's almost a necessity and we wouldn't be able to travel without this. So that's that. So it comes in a nice little pouch as well, which we keep our cables in typically too. The last two things I have are this little tech pouch. So this particular one's from Hello Lulu. Yeah, Hello Lulu, I think it's the brand. And we were actually gifted this when I think a friend bought a bag from them. And it's just this really nice little pouch that I generally really like. I like the look of it as well. But inside we just chuck in everything. So you have lens cloth wipers, rocket blowers, some spare drone propellers, a spare drone battery, some spare lens caps. Got a few in there, spare lens caps, and some lens cleaning kits as well. So everything we just shove in there. If you don't have one of these tech pouches, the problem is that they're just going to fall all over the place, and it's going to be really hard to find inside your bag. So this is really nice way to kind of keep it nice and tidy and compact. It doesn't have to be this Hello Lulu brand, but just have something that can hold everything in place. And the last item we have is, it looks like a toiletry bag, but it's not. It's actually where we hold our hard drive. This is probably our most valuable possession. This is probably our most valuable item, bag / possession that we have ever. I mean, it carries all of our images, all of our work is all stored in here. We do save stuff onto the cloud, but we always like to keep a hard copy of everything. So this is super important to us. We've yet to find a way to travel safely with all the drives in a nice compact way. The best thing we've found so far, these toiletry bags. They keep it quite safe, and they're a little bit padded, which is nice as well. And they are water resistant. So if it gets damp, the water generally runs off it. They're not waterproof though. So you have to bear that in mind, but it does the job. Nice little pouch. Yeah, I think this one from Muji, I think this particular one. So yeah, it's really nice. But that's it. That's everything in our camera bag, I think. Yeah, that's everything in our camera bag. So if you guys have any questions about any of the items that we talked about today, or if you have any questions about any camera gear that you might have or you're thinking of purchasing, just drop a comment below or send us a message anytime, and hopefully we'll be able to answer your questions. So for now, I'll see you guys in the next one. See ya.